So many of the young adults were saying that they, were raised with a very open attitude towards religion, and think about things and make up your own mind and so on. But then the question came, well, what about conditioning in general? Yeah, well, no, there was a lot of conditioning, and somebody brought up that, conditioned in consumerism, or maybe conditioned in scientific materialism. So getting a lot of that kind of input when you're young. But it made me wonder, well, sometimes, because I meet a lot of people who weren't raised with a very strict religious philosophy or anything, and I think in some ways, then it leaves you open to explore other religions and, people coming to Buddhism and things like that. But I think other people react to that kind of openness maybe in another way, because you find a lot of people of your generation becoming extremely evangelical and rigid and going back to the religion of their ancestors, but in a really hardcore way that their parents didn't even, And so I was thinking, because the world is so unpredictable now, if you're not raised with a strong religious faith, if there's a tendency, some people, become very creative and explore other things, and other people just want something to hold on to so that they have something that makes sense in this incredible, ever-changing world. Yeah, and it was just making me think how we can all come out of a similar kind of thing, but then take it in very different directions. Yeah. And then it came up at the end of the discussion just how important people felt it was that the Buddha said, really think about what I say and practice it, don't just believe it. And I think all of us really appreciated that. I mean, I know for me personally, when I went to my first Dharma course, one of the most important things they said was, don't believe everything we say. Yeah. And so it left that openness to really try things out and see how they work, and to think things through from a logical perspective, not just saying, well, somebody else said it, so it must be true, or somebody else thought about it, so it must be logical, but really taking it upon ourselves to think about things clearly and to figure out what we really believe and what we don't. Yeah. But at the same time, I just find it fascinating, because I see that often what people decide they believe religiously, isn't really based on practice or on reasoning. It's based on what feels good, And when you have a certain emotional need, then the religion that meets that emotional need seems to be the religion that people adopt. I remember one person telling me that, when one of her a relative died, that, they weren't allowed to be buried in the church. And so then all of a sudden, okay, well, then Catholicism is not good, and, let's look for something else. And then another person said when their relative died, they thought, oh, Buddhism is not very encouraging about an afterlife, but Catholicism does give you a view of an afterlife that's, more hopeful, at least, in what that person had come across. So it also makes me think that people can choose a religion based on their own particular emotional needs at a certain time. Yeah, and that's from the viewpoint of the Buddha, that really wouldn't be, that's not going to satisfy in the long term, because we really need to have, His Holiness is always emphasizing using reason to think things through and to check things out with our own experience. Yeah, but we have so much different condition, and often just what the emotional need is at that time, that's what people follow. Yeah. So anyway, there was a bunch of ideas, no coherent theme, but maybe something to think about it all.